Bite 1: Science of Nutrition. This module will cover the major macro and micronutrients that make up the foods we eat. Information will include how macronutrients affect the body. Food groups are composed of different macronutrients, and we will explore the effect each food group has on the body as it relates to the function of each macro and micronutrient. Students will understand what nutrients are and distinguish between the different types of nutrients while classifying foods according to dominant macronutrient and their MyPlate food group classification. The definition of nutrition is the science involving the interrelated steps by which an organism assimilates or acquires food and uses it for growth, tissue repair and replacement, or elaboration of products. Classifying the macro and micronutrients. Classifying the macro and micronutrients. Nutrients are substances that nourish metabolic processes of the body, and they are the end product of digestion, the breakdown of food. Without nutrients, we would not have food. Foods are made up of two different types of nutrients: macronutrients and micronutrients. If you've ever heard of macros, these are the macronutrients that are found in food. There are 6 classes of nutrients. 3 of these classes make up macronutrients, and 3 of these classes make up micronutrients. The components of food that provide calories or energy into a person's diet is called a macronutrient. There are 3 main types of macronutrients that make up the majority of calories in a person's diet: carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. Also included in macronutrients are minerals, vitamins, and the most important of all macros, water. Carbohydrates. Carbohydrates include sugars, starch, and fiber. These include the common foods of white table sugar, potatoes, and many grains, including rice and corn. Carbohydrates are broken down from complex compounds down to simple sugars during digestion for nutrient absorption in the small intestine. Most carbohydrates are derived from plants and all contain hydrogen, carbon, and oxygen, and their complexity depends on how these elements are structured. Fats. Fats, also known as lipids, are energy dense. They contain 2.25 times more energy than carbohydrates. Fats are insoluble in water, meaning they do not mix into water and float to the top of water due to their decreased density. Similar to carbohydrates, fats are made up of hydrogen, carbon, and oxygen, but with much more carbon than carbohydrates. Our diets require fats of energy and essential fatty acids that are needed for hormone production and normal body function, because cell structures are derived from the fats that we eat. There are 2 main types of fats: saturated fats and unsaturated fats. Saturated fats only have single bonds between the carbons in long carbon chains that make up the majority of the fats. Unsaturated fats contain 1 or more double bonds between these carbons in the chain. This causes a kink to be made and changes the digestibility and absorptive nature of that fat. The majority of the fats that we eat are unsaturated fats. Proteins. Proteins are the building blocks of muscle, and each protein is made up of long chains of individual amino acids. There are lots of different proteins, just like there are lots of different fats and carbohydrates. Each different protein is determined by the specific sequence of these amino acids in the chain. There are 2 types of proteins: simple proteins that contain only amino acids, and complex proteins which contain additional non-amino acid substances. Why does this matter? Because they have different important roles in the body. Some examples of complex proteins include hemoglobin, glycoprotein, and lipoprotein, which contain iron, carbohydrates, and lipids, respectively. Fun fact: proteins are the only nutrient that contain nitrogen. Proteins support growth, including muscle, bone, and connective tissue development. In addition, all enzymes in the body are proteins. Enzymes break down materials in the body to small units and are important in digestion and nutrient absorption. Proteins can be made up of a combination of 25 different amino acids. However, some amino acids are needed more than others in the body. These are known as limiting amino acids, and they are needed in our diets no matter what. Limiting amino acids are supplemented in our diets. Additionally, amino acids are classified as either essential or non-essential. Essential amino acids are needed in our diets for normal body function, and the big difference between limiting and essential amino acids is that limiting amino acids are not easily found in some foods, while essential amino acids are needed by the body, but could be easily found in most foods. All limiting amino acids are essential amino acids, but not all essential amino acids are limiting amino acids. Water. Water is the most important nutrient, even though it is not considered a major macronutrient. Water drives all of the other nutrients. It is involved in most metabolic reactions in the body, transports nutrients to target tissues from sites of absorption for use, and maintains normal body temperature and even gives our body their physical shape. It is critical that each day we drink water and enough of it. Out of all of the nutrients, water is our most limiting for survival and normal body function. Vitamins. Vitamins are organic nutrients. They contain carbon as a base element for composition, and they are needed in very small amounts for extremely specific cell functions in the body. There are two types of vitamins: fat-soluble and water-soluble. Fat-soluble vitamins are stored in the body, but still needed to be consumed each day. Fat-soluble vitamins include vitamin A, needed for repair of internal and external body linings and the eyes, vitamin D, needed for bone growth and repair in combination with sunlight, vitamin E, an antioxidant needed for muscle growth, and vitamin K, needed for blood clotting. Water-soluble vitamins are supplied each day in the diet and are not stored in fat in our bodies. Our diets need to have water-soluble vitamins each day. Water-soluble vitamins include vitamin C, vitamin B complex vitamins, and choline. Minerals. Minerals are inorganic, meaning they contain chemical elements other than carbon and usually do not contain hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. When we talk about minerals, we are usually talking about individual chemical elements that are needed by the body. There are two types of minerals: macrominerals, which are required in large amounts in the body, and microminerals, which are required in small amounts in the body. Macrominerals include calcium, phosphorus, sodium, chlorine, potassium, magnesium, and sulfur. Some macronutrients are required in specific ratios of amounts with other macronutrients, with the most important being calcium and phosphorus for proper bone growth, and sodium, chlorine, and potassium, which are needed for regulating salt content in the blood via red blood cells. Microminerals that are needed by the body include chromium, cobalt, copper, fluorine, iodine, iron, manganese, molybdenum, selenium, and zinc. Some vitamins and minerals are also needed in combination for normal body function, including selenium and vitamin E for proper muscle growth and function, and vitamin D, phosphorus, and calcium that are needed for bone repair and growth, along with the sun. Now let's try and classify some foods into the different macronutrients. Remember that most foods will have micronutrients and water, so keep that in mind when you're classifying these foods. What have you eaten over the past 3 days? Work to classify each food according to its primary macro and what food group that food fits into in the My Plate dietary suggestion. How do these foods compare? How do the foods classify? And how do they compare to the recommended My Plate servings?